Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. We appreciate you hopping on this Monday afternoon as we're seeing big changes in the forecast. From what we saw this weekend, record cold and dangerous temperatures and wind chills across the northern portion of the U.S., but I think most of the U.S. felt that cold weather. Now we're switching to a warmer weather, to warmer conditions over the next few days and probably through the end of this month. What we're probably going to see is all the way through the end of December, we are going to see warmer conditions. Alrighty, getting my clicker to work here. What about that severe weather? So we've got the heat building back in. Do we have the moisture? Do we have the potential energy? Can we see severe weather moving back into the forecast? We'll talk about that as well. I think that Wednesday, Thursday will be the days to watch. And we have a special thing today to talk about December tornado breakdown. How common is it for tornadoes to hit during December? We'll talk about that at the end of the forecast as well. So if you're missing that severe weather, if you want to talk about tornadoes here, we've got that for you at the very end of the forecast. Taking a look at your 24-hour storm reports, no. Just no. Big donut hole here. We have nothing really severe weather-wise going on at the moment. It's very, very cold out there. We saw those cold temperatures infiltrate the U.S. over the last 48 hours. This weekend, temperatures got down to -0 or below 0 for some people. And then, of course, you factor in the wind, and it feels even colder. We're wrapping up with snow right now in the northern portion of the U.S. Not too much snow expected in the forecast here. We've got tons of rain ongoing across the west coast, but that's our two big stories for today. Big changes coming here as we see temperatures warming up from finally above those single digits. Back into the 20s, hey, we'll take it in Minneapolis. We've got 40 degrees in Oklahoma City. But speaking of Minneapolis, I have a maybe not so fun fact. Any person in Minneapolis probably knows this already, but if you don't live in the northern portion of the U.S., did you know that they have been below freezing for over 480 consecutive hours? Minneapolis has not seen temperatures above freezing since before Thanksgiving, when temperatures were in the 40s and then dropped down to the 30s, the 20s. Some days highs were only in the single digits. Now today they have a very small chance to get above freezing, but they will absolutely get above freezing for tomorrow. Over 480 hours below freezing in Minneapolis. Holy moly. It's not something that we're used to in the southern portion of the U.S., but I think they've seen this before in Minneapolis. Let's take a look at your snowfall totals here. Over the last 24 hours, we haven't seen a ton of snow. However, we still have snow on the ground in these areas because temperatures have stayed so cold. Let's actually take a look at those that snowfall that's sitting on the ground right now. Grab a drink of water real quick. Probably too much coffee today and not enough water. We still have snow on the ground, a very sharp gradient anywhere from the northern portion of Missouri to nothing down near St. Louis. A lot of snow on the ground still up near Chicago and, of course, Minneapolis, where temperatures are trying to warm back up and melt some of that snow so you can get back out the door. Let's go ahead and talk about severe weather now. Your significant hail model. Excuse me. Ooh, really struggling with those allergies this morning. One more time. Significant hail model. Do we see any significant hail across the U.S. over the next 48 hours? No. However, that may change as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. So let's go ahead and talk about this here. Your severe weather outlook, not looking great for today. Tuesday, we go back down to Houston and Corpus Christi, but things start to change after that as we have moisture moving up into the southeast. We've got some warmer temperatures, as I mentioned as well, and we have that next chance for strong to severe storms across Houston into the eastern portion of Texas, western Louisiana, most of Arkansas. We could even see some storms up in Missouri as well. By Thursday, we've got a cold front moving through Oklahoma and Kansas, bringing some mildly cool temperatures into the area. We've also got a dry line setting up here as well, just across Dallas and I-35. This will promote the development of storms by Thursday afternoon. We'll have to see exactly what this means. There's not anything confirmed quite yet. on what we're going to see. We're still about 4 days out from this, but what we do know is in this area, we will get some moisture over the next few days. Taking a look at your 5-day rainfall totals here, it looks like we're still getting moisture across the eastern portion of the U.S., and with that temperature increase, this will come in the form of rain, not necessarily snow for most of us. Right in this area, another very sharp gradient here on where we could see those storms. It's all about where that moisture is. So let's take a look at a few of our parameters. I'm going to fast forward here. Taking a look at radar, we've got a lot of rain off the northwest right now. Maybe a little bit of snow coming into places like Minnesota. It's a little too warm for that, so I don't think it'll stick around. Nothing too significant here. Let's move on to your parameters for Wednesday. First, here's all of your rain that we could see on Wednesday. You can see that moving through the eastern portion of Texas into places like Houston, Louisiana, and Arkansas. There's Wednesday. There's Thursday. So we have another chance just shifting a little bit to the east across Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky on Thursday. You can see a big change in the forecast where right now we have very, very dry air across most of the U.S. A lot of places have dew points in the single digits. That may be why you need a little bit more water today. Your lips are probably chapped. Your hands are probably cracking. You need that lotion. We've got dry air. However, that's changing as we head into the late portion of Tuesday and early on Wednesday. We've got those dew points rising as moisture comes in from the Gulf into places like Texas, eastern Oklahoma, Arkansas, as far north as Missouri and Illinois. Got that moisture, really, really nice moisture across Louisiana. And then we've got that sharp gradient. Actually, let me rewind this a little bit and show you that sharp gradient across Texas here. Here's what we're watching for. Plenty of moisture out ahead of that front. Dry conditions back to the west. Where we see that sharp gradient, that sharp difference, that drastic contrast, that's where we're watching for strong to severe storms. So we see that setting up across places like Oklahoma and Texas. Now we need more than moisture here. We need something, some sort of lift, something to make that warm air rise. Let's see that here. Do we have instability? So this is convective available potential energy. What that means, potential energy, that's CAPE, that's what we call CAPE. We do see that coming in, not as much on Wednesday, but more favorable for Thursday. So you can see that we've got CAPE moving up from the eastern portion of Texas into Louisiana. That's where we could see storms on Thursday. So we've got that moisture. We've got a little bit of CAPE, not a ton, but a little bit. Could we see storms? So I've highlighted the area that I would expect for storms on Thursday. Isolated severe storms possible for anyone highlighted here in red, but most likely those farther down to the south in places like Louisiana and Texas. And again, all of that thanks to that influx of moisture, a cold front moving through, so you've got some form of lift, and then we've got that potential energy down in Texas and Louisiana. So that's where I'm watching for the next chance for storms. All of this a part of a greater system that is really, really focused, or the strongest, up in the northern portion of the U.S. We've got another low pressure system that's just barely clipping the northern portion of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. This low pressure system is going to be what really drives all of this down to the south, that cold front, dry line, to move to the east. So there's your chance for severe weather this week. I do think that we'll have another chance for severe weather at the very end of this month, closer to Christmas time. But we'll talk about that in the coming days as we get closer to that event. In the meantime, I want to go back and recap December tornado statistics. Now, did you know that December, while being one of the most unlikely months for tornadoes, with the lowest average number of tornadoes possible, we still have about 48 tornadoes on average. Each year in December, about 48 tornadoes across the U.S. We'll talk about the most that we've gotten in some years and the least that we've gotten in other years. In 2021, we had about 232 tornadoes reported across the U.S. A lot of those came from a significant outbreak that included the Mayfield tornado. We've got a few pictures to show you from that event. Actually, HailTrace went and volunteered there at the Mayfield tornado. It was a wildly impactful tragedy to the town. Heather, do we have some of those pictures and videos to show? Here we go. So this tragic event happened during one of the biggest and deadliest tornado outbreaks in December. Unfortunately, there were 89 reported fatalities on that day and over $3 billion of damage. This was a multi-state event, which included 66 confirmed tornadoes from Arkansas to Missouri to Illinois, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And of course, in Kentucky, that's where the Mayfield EF4 occurred. It was another very warm December day, so anytime that we get these warm temperatures in December, our ears kind of perk up. We say we have to take a look at this. We had an impressive south wind carrying relatively tropical moisture from the Gulf into some of our southeastern and Midwest states, which is a rare setup for December, but unfortunately the right conditions for several it was the right conditions for several long track and violent tornadoes. In total, over 200 tornadoes were reported in that December, making it the most active December for tornadoes on record. So again, this was 2021. December 10th was the Mayfield, Kentucky tornado. Some devastating pictures right there, and I know everyone on TikTok cannot see this, so let me flip my camera around and show you guys what we're looking at right here. And we appreciate everyone else joining us from Facebook and YouTube. We'll go on to talk about one of the strongest tornadoes that has ever happened in December. Now, this was an F5, so before the EF scale was invented, this F5 tornado happened in Vicksburg, Mississippi on December 5th, 1953, so well over 50 years ago. We have some pictures and videos from that as well. What you can see from these pictures and videos is, of course, it's black and white. It's before a lot of the best forms of communication that we have today were even invented. So this was from the strongest tornado that has ever hit in the U.S. in December. It happened once again on a warm Saturday evening. It was a tragic event causing 38 fatalities and 270 injuries. The cost and damage was about $25 million, which would equate to over $300 million today. Vicksburg is located just east of the Mississippi River, and the tornado touched down along I-20 just west of the river. Now, as it crossed the river and it crossed state lines, it strengthened into the downtown of Vicksburg, into that EF5 monster. This is actually an excerpt from the National Weather Service. They said, longtime Vicksburg resident Marie Renaud said before the 60th anniversary of the storm, she said they had always said Vicksburg would never have a tornado because of the river. Unfortunately, many Vicksburg residents found out the hard way that this belief was merely a falsehood. Some very impactful words from the National Weather Service there. Now, obviously, the Vicksburg and Mayfield tornado are just a few examples of very rare occurrences of major disasters in December. Since 1879, so about 145 years, there have been 22 EF4 or EF5 tornadoes that have occurred in December. So not a ton there, but they do happen. And we look today, of course, at some of the most impactful ones. Now, when we look for the most common place for tornadoes to happen during December, it's in Mississippi. And Heather, we can go back to the maps here. So Mississippi, on average, will have about 7 tornadoes in December. They haven't had any this year. Obviously, actually, we've had 0 tornadoes in the U.S. so far this year, which is pretty rare. We still have 2 more weeks of December. We're only about halfway through so far, but it is very rare to only have 0 tornadoes in December. The only other time that we've recorded no tornadoes at all in the U.S. in December was back in 1963. So we could see that this year, or maybe we could have a few more tornadoes as we head into the end of the year. These warmer temperatures are going to help with that. You're going to see temperatures, especially along the southern and southeastern portion of the U.S., warm up over the next few days. We've got the 50s and 60s by Wednesday, 60s and even some 70s on Thursday. Okay, we have to really watch out for some of the warmer and moist areas on Thursday. And then we've got a little cold front moving through by Friday, but a nice warm up on Saturday. It does look really nice on Saturday as temperatures warm back into the 60s and 70s. So we, of course, while we have these warm temperatures, we'll be keeping an eye on the potential for severe weather because that's not going away anytime soon. We're actually going to have this above average, these warm conditions all the way through the end of this month. If you take a look at December 20th through the 24th, we have a really good chance to be above average for most of the U.S. Everyone highlighted there in orange or red has a good chance to be warmer than normal. What about that moisture? Well, that's going to be the big question. Do we have the right conditions, the right moisture for severe weather as we head into the end of the month? We're still too far out to tell, but of course HailTrace will be tracking it for you. Quiet today, warmer tomorrow, and then we'll keep an eye on severe weather for Wednesday and Thursday. As always, follow us for more weather updates. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or give us a call for any of those tornado or hail maps that had happened earlier this year. We have all of those updated at HailTrace.com. You can call for a subscription at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@HailTrace.com or head over to our website, HailTrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. We'll be doing more stories like the tornado events that you saw today. And of course, we'll be tracking the weather the rest of the week. So as always, follow us on all forms of social media, and we'll see you back here same time, same place tomorrow.